Meningitis has taught me a lot of things in life. One of the biggest ones to me is that destiny is debatable, and the filter through which you view your circumstances is 100% up to you. Howdy, I'm John. I think people would describe me as resilient and pretty funny for the most part, especially with dad joke humor. My favorite hobbies are writing. I love writing. I'm also a podcaster in my spare time when I'm not chasing three little Texas tornadoes around. My favorite part of the day by far is the morning. I like to get up early before anybody else while the house is quiet. I then get the kids off to school, and from there it's a mix of insurance consulting and advocacy work in the meningitis space. But life wasn't always this way. I was a 19-year-old sophomore in college. A typical teenager, felt like I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof. And then I got sick with what I thought was probably the flu or something, so I took some medicine and went to bed. 8 days later, I woke up in the hospital, blind, disoriented. I could hear beeping, pulsing machines, a stream of people moving around me, but I couldn't see. My fraternity brother found me unconscious on the floor in my bedroom, the result of nasty run-in with meningococcal meningitis, better known as bacterial meningitis. And of course, I had never heard of meningitis. I didn't know what meningitis was. Lost most of my vision. I learned that I was totally blind in my right eye and have about 2300 vision in my left eye. 2300 vision, it's like looking through binoculars backwards. I have a bladder that doesn't function properly and permanent neurological damage throughout my body. I came in an ambulance, unconscious, and I left in a wheelchair. And I had a really long road of recovery ahead of me, physically, mentally, just kind of everything. I went back to my parents' house and I spent about 5 months doing all kinds of different rehabilitation, from physical, emotional, learning how to walk, how to swallow, how to talk. I also had to adjust to life with little to no vision, which was obviously pretty dramatic change for somebody that went to sleep normal and woke up this way. That experience changed the course of my life. I want to get back to the community because I didn't know what meningitis was until it turned my life upside down. It's changed the trajectory of my profession to where it's something that I try to do as often as I can now, and feel like through my writing and some speaking engagements that I do that it's really where I'm headed, and to help other people understand really what meningitis is probably the biggest thing. It is something that is preventable. It is something that people can be aware of. Time matters. Time makes a big difference. And if people are more aware of the signs and the symptoms and know to talk to their doctors, know that vaccines are available to help prevent it, but also find other people that need support for meningitis, because back in the early days, I needed support and it wasn't there. So I know what that feels like, and I want to try to connect with as many people and families that have been affected by meningitis to help get them through those times where I needed help.
Hi, my name is Jamie. I'm a meningitis survivor and a huge advocate for vaccines. How people would describe me are different variances. I would say they would describe me as someone who doesn't really take no for an answer, really determined, knows what she wants. That determination became even more important after meningitis changed my life. My experience with meningitis started in 2008. I was a sophomore in college and I was completely healthy one day. I walked onto a college campus unvaccinated and I got sick with meningitis, and I was healthy one day and the next day I was fighting for my life. My first hour, I had a very small symptom, which was very flu-like. I didn't think too much of it. And then 14 hours later, I knew my body was shutting down. I knew it was something that I wasn't really familiar with, just from the pain and the symptoms. I've never dealt with this before. And that's just within 14 hours. Doctors did assume and guess that I had meningitis, and so they put me on dialysis pretty quickly. And then I was kind of put into a semi-medicated coma for 3 weeks. And I would wake up from time to time and I would see my limbs go from red rash to purple to black to literally necrotic. Unfortunately, I didn't get out of the hospital for another 7 months. But when I got out of the hospital, I had all my fingers and both of my legs below the knee amputated. I did outpatient for 6 months, and that's where I learned how to walk. And during this time, I did go back to school. So it was hard to be on campus as a stigma and to learn school and to discover how to use my body again. So it was hard.
Every day became about regaining independence and proving to myself that I could still move forward.
My life today is still very unique. I work remotely, but also on my off time, I work on the nonprofit organization where I try to meet with anyone that's willing to share my story across their community. And being that I just moved to New York, I'm slowly growing my roots here. And my most recent accomplishment that I'm really proud of is that we just passed a state proclamation recognizing that August is Immunization Awareness Month. And it's a great time because it's back to school where you gotta think about your flu vaccine, the measles, and meningitis. And we're really excited that the governor of New York did sign that off, and it's nice to see different advocacy works kind of come into play and what it really does mean to me. It does give me a lot of pride for sure. I think acknowledging my past is so important to me, and it's what defines us. I know sometimes if it's hard, a lot of people won't want to talk about it. But for me, that's just how I am and how I proceed to live my life, and want to make sure that no one goes through what I did, and to make sure that people do hear that meningitis can be a potentially devastating disease and to not take it lightly. When it comes to next steps for me and what I'm excited about is definitely my advocacy efforts. I am just in the beginning process of this year of meeting my local officials and seeing what we can do with next legislation session and seeing how I could be a resource to them and maybe passing another law. So I'm just excited to see where this can go. I'm very determined in this world just to keep going
and protect others from this disease.